If you're looking to improve the acceleration and off-the-line performance of your Mustang, stepping up to a numerically higher gear ratio is a great way to do so. Now, the Ford Performance 373 gear set and install kit will be from one of the most trusted names in parts for your 86 to 09 V8 Mustang with the 8.8 solid rear axle. Now, this kit will include a brand new ring and pinion, as you guys can see, along with everything you need to get them in place. Price point for the 5-star rated kit will be in the mid to high $200 range, and the install will not be for the timid or inexperienced mechanics out there, so let's call this one a full-blown 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, with a little bit more detail on that later in the video. So it's no secret that most of the factory gear ratios for the earlier cars like the Fox bodies and the SN95s and even some of the early S197s weren't exactly ideal for off-the-line performance and acceleration. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Now, most of these earlier cars were working with either a 273, a 308, or in some cases a 327 gear until some of the early S197s ushered in an optional 355 ratio. And with all that said, again, a great way to increase your off-the-line performance and acceleration without even adding horsepower is to install a numerically higher gear ratio, or a shorter gear as they're sometimes referred to as. Now, doing so will help you get through those gears a little bit faster, get you up to speed quicker, with the only drawback being a slight hit to your fuel economy depending on how aggressive you go. But with the days of overdrive manual and automatic transmissions, it's not nearly as bad as it used to be back on the old 4-speed cars. But getting into the kit that we have here, and with that fuel economy thing in mind, I would argue a lot of people would probably prefer the 373 to a more aggressive 410 or higher gear ratio, because depending on your factory ratio, you are still getting a much shorter gear with the 373, especially if you have a 273 car or even a 307 car. So the car basically is going to feel totally different, but without turning more RPM while cruising on the highway like you would with a 410 or something higher. Basically, it's going to be a great compromise. Now, as far as your physical construction of the gears are concerned, well, really nice stuff here from Ford Performance, and that is what we've come to expect from anything with the blue oval on it. You're going to be looking at a strong forged construction throughout, CNC cut of course, along with the lap teeth all finished in that black oxide coating. Now, the gears have been made in the USA, and Ford Performance likes to tout that these are going to be some of the quietest gears you'll find available in the aftermarket. But on the subject of noise, it is important to point out for me that a lot of times the noise might not be coming from the gears themselves, but rather the install or the setup of the gear, or rather the ring and pinion, which does lead us into the next part of our product here, and that is the installation kit. And while I don't have every single part on the table with me for this video, you will be receiving everything you need to get the new ring and pinion installed and set up in your 8.8. And that does include brand new bearings, new seals, new shims, crushed sleeves, pinion nut, gear marking compound and brush to check your pattern and depth, your diff cover gasket, and even a couple of quarts of the 7590 Royal Purple gear oil, in addition to the 4 ounces or 3.8 ounces of the required friction modifier. So a very complete kit is what I'm trying to say here, guys, at the end of the day, and one that will be beneficial to either you or your mechanic when it comes time to get everything installed. And speaking of the installation, listen, getting gear set up properly can be a bit of an art form and does involve a fair amount of work under the car, in addition to using some specialty tools like a press, a dial indicator, things like that. So because of this, we're going to call it a full 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. Those of you who have done this in the past knows what's involved, so you have no problem knocking this out. You're definitely going to save yourself some money when it comes to labor. On the other hand, for the novice mechanics out there who really aren't too familiar with this sort of thing, you might want to get this one installed by your local shop. It's not a fun day in the garage, and again, if you don't have access to all the specialty tools, it can lead to a noisy operation. Typical labor for a job like this will vary depending on your area, of course, but I'd say ballpark of $500, give or take, is what you can expect for the labor here. But again, if you've done this before, you know what to expect. On the other hand, I would strongly recommend getting this one knocked out by your local shop. Another big thing to keep in mind when making the change to a different gear ratio is the change or effect that this will have on your speedometer, and it will need to be corrected. Now, you have a couple of different options. 79 to 98 cars or V8 owners out there can simply replace your speedometer gear. It's going to be the most cost-effective way to go about doing so. 99 and newer cars, on the other hand, with that VSS sensor, you can either fix this through a handheld device or tuner, or you can look into a Speedo recalibration box from a company like Ford Racing, for instance, on the site here for a couple of $100. But in closing, guys, if you're looking to really kick up that off-the-line grunt of your V8 powered Mustang, improve your acceleration and your ETs, a set of 373s from Ford Performance would be a great choice, and you can grab yours right here at AmericanMuscle.com.